Welcome back to the channel and welcome to another park tour, and today we're going to be exploring this particular park. This is Isla Sodor, which I have recently completely finished up to my usual standards, and I thought it would be a good idea to take you guys all around the place. So this park has been in construction for a good few months, I think around the new year is when I started it, and it's got a few interesting features that I think some of you might enjoy. Now, it's called Isla Sodor because that is the name of the island that Thomas the Tank Engine is based on, and I thought it would make for an interesting island shape to actually try to copy in the game and build a park on. So the island shape is roughly the same shape as the Isla Sodor from the show, and I've used that as built it on the Isla Nublar square map, just because I like the tropical texture patterns and stuff for the sand and mud and that sort of thing. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go round in camera mode, not first person mode, just because it's quicker to use the camera mode sometimes. And yeah, we're going to go and have a look at all the different features that are on the map. Obviously, the first thing to point out here is the mountain in the middle of the island, which broadly separates it into two zones, with a nice little Mayan pyramid on the top there. And if I head down here, you can see we have the entrance building area. This is just two helicopter entrances joined together that are sort of nestled within this gap in the mountains, and then that goes pretty much straight into the park. The immediate area around where the entrance structures are located is a nice little seating area, and we have here a memorial to John Hammond, constructed just from a planter, a couple of fountains, and the John Hammond statue there. These sort of the white panels, the curved white panels, I say curved. This is the short wooden light positioned at an angle. This is where I would imagine you'd have like a computer screen or like a bit of writing telling you some information. So that would be obviously about John Hammond. One of the unique things about this park was that I wanted to only have the smaller species of animals in the park, animals that we don't often maybe utilize in the parks. So an element of that was the Yehalopterus. Now, there are wild pterosaurs here. The Yehalopterus, I think, are small enough that you don't need to have them in an aviary. You can just have them flying around. But around this area of the park, there are some insect feeders to kind of tempt the Yehalopterus into areas where they might have guests. So we'll keep a lookout for any of those and see if we find any of them. Now, this pathway is the central avenue down to the end of the island, hence all the banners and stuff. And we've got some decorative tree and bush lining here, as well as a few statues to demarcate where the hotel is, but we'll have a look at that in a second. So if you head through the wall sections here, past the fountains, you have a couple of other seating areas, and you have this open well-style enclosure, or a below ground level enclosure. And this is where the Yehalopterus are supposed to primarily spend their time. There's an insect feeder in there, and I can hear Yehalopterus, but can't see any. Are they in here still? Yes, they're primarily in here. There's one. But yeah, they've got some places to land and sit, and they've also got, obviously, an insect feeder, water. I did think about putting a Malacephaly or something similar in here as well, but I thought the Yehalopterus were cute enough by themselves. And they tend to sort of stick around this sort of entrance zone, their enclosure, the seating area here, and the sort of main areas around here, as well as these little gardens. You'll see a lot of these little gardens throughout the park, just areas where I can put some planting and some banners and that sort of thing. Now if we head up here, this is the only hotel in the park. Again, I didn't want the park to be too heavy in terms of sort of guests, amenities and stuff. I wanted to focus on different, more interesting sorts of design elements. So this is the only hotel, and you know, we've got a nice little signage out here. We've got plenty of outdoor seating along here, as well as sort of a little observation area. At the end, we've got, I imagine this is a sort of little interactive display, the sort of thing you might have for kids, with Mr. DNA there, and some amber, as well as the Halopterus on a little fountain there. And the idea being that they'd be taught, like, the process of bringing these animals back to life, while you have, you know, the posh outdoor seating. I imagine this seating would be like for a restaurant that's located inside the hotel. You sort of the posh seating, and then you have this cheaper seating for just like general stuff. Now this hotel actually overlooks also an enclosure which has our smaller species of ceratopsians, the Pachycephalosaurus. Not Pachycephalosaurus, Pachyrhinosaurus. Oh, I think it's about to rain in the park. I do have weather turned on, I just don't have day-night cycle turned on. Now coming down the hotel, you can separate off sort of three different ways. You can continue following the main path down, you can go off to the right or to the left. This is also where you'll find a sort of main set of amenities, shop, restaurants and drinking establishments with plenty of outdoor seating around it. This is kind of what I would imagine the primary sort of amenity area that the food court has, you might say, overlooking the Halopterus. And you've also got another dinosaur enclosure here for Huangosaurus, our smaller species of Stegosaurian. Hopefully we'll go and have a look at that in a minute. Let's just head around here. So if you are following the main path, you come past this nice little garden here, where you have yet another statue to John Hammond positioned inside this fountain. Again, try to big up Mr. Hammond. This garden surrounded by towers and such, just a nice little area to sit. And then behind the amenities you have a sort of little display with a T-Rex skeleton. This path, main path heading down away from the amenities, ends in a restroom for guests and provides access to the right hand side of the island and the left hand side. There are two animal enclosures at the end here. You have the Compsognathus enclosure, which I've given them like a little ruined tower to sort of give them some shelter. The Spinosaurus skeleton here just to sort of emphasize how small the Compsognathus are. And I imagine again these little computer monitors or pretend computer monitors are actually connected to the security cameras that are positioned around this enclosure, so that if you want a closer look at the compies, you can sort of control the security cameras and direct them and get a better view. On the other side of the restroom, we have oviraptors, which are big enough to be seen without the requirement of sort of security cameras and stuff. They just have a very simple sort of oasis sort of enclosure. So you can head around the Halopterus enclosure, or you can head around the other side of this central enclosure. And in here we have Huangosaurus with this nice little lake. I think we have a range of skins here. We went for the Jurassic World Evolution 1 tiger skin, my favourite green and marbled white skin. And I also think there's a more general sort of grey albino in here as well. And yeah, we also have this this nice color. I think we went with a range of different colors, 5 different colors for this one. Now if you follow the main path, the double-sided path, you can see we've got another enclosure here that's sort of stepped off from the pathway. I do like doing this, and I think it's something I need to do more of, is to sort of step the enclosures away from the path, create a nice sort of wooded, flowered border, and then you can sort of separate off your guests from your dinosaurs a bit more effectively. Now whether you follow the Yeholopterus route or the sort of Hwango route, eventually they both combine together here at this section of the island. You have access to a viewing dome, which we'll have a look at in a second, some more seating, and then we have a smaller amenities court area here, along with some modern art. And this is just the same sort of standard food and drinks place with shops around. And there are some more sort of private seating at the back here, overlooking the exit. Well, the what is the ocean, the pretend ocean for this island. Now, inside this enclosure, next door, are Monolophosaurus. I really like the Monolophosaurus. I think it's a species people do not use anywhere near enough. I think they've got beautiful skins. We've got an albino in here as well. Got a couple of different skin designs. And this is where the viewing dome comes out to. Now you can see I've decorated the viewing dome just to blend it into the environment more, including trying to put a few fallen trees and stuff around it, some lighting. And we've also got a couple of other little design features in here just for a bit of fun. We've got like a little abandoned bunker. And we have this pretend on fire velociraptor holding pen with cage, with kind of the assumption that the Monolophosaurus have escaped from this. And this is why they're in this enclosure. And I've tried to add these little design elements around the park just to provide some interesting detail. Now, following here, we have access to the walk-through exhibit area, which connects to the other main areas of the park. There's a double set of gates here, watchtower just for security, and then in here we have a simple path through various biomes, which provide a walk-through enclosure. There's desert on the sort of desert-style enclosure on the left-hand side. The right-hand side we went with a grassland river, and then there's 2 further areas up above. And there's a variety of species in here. We have Minmi, one of our smallest ceratopsians. We have Dryosaurus, one of our smallest ornithomimids. There should also be a few other animals here and there. We got some oviraptors in here as well. There should be some wild Sungaripterus, which are amongst our smaller species of pterosaur. The Sungaripterus tend to sort of fly off quite a bit, which can make them a little bit annoying. Oh, there's some Dracorex in here as well. Let's see if I can find some Sungaripterus anywhere. They do tend to fly quite far and wide, do the Sungaripterus, which is annoying considering their fish feeders are all located around here. Wild pterosaurs can sort of stay where you want them to if you're putting a distinct lack of sort of places for them to sit. There's one. Hello there. But yeah, the Sungaripterus just fly wherever they like. We've got a sort of little feeding, primarily paleobotany feeding area between these 2 pathways, just to provide some food for animals, get them to cross over between the environments. And you can see how we've done sort of the desert style side and the grassland style side. We've got this centralized area for people to sit, fountain. and then you can either head to the south or continue onwards. Now, heading through the south takes you past this pine sequoia forest, which a lot of the animals don't actually like. I think it's because they can't actually find any food there, so I might have to do something about that. But they pass through the forest and you come to another set of double gates, and this is the scientist slash researcher area of the park. Now if I just zoom out a bit, you can see how it is formed. So you've got a pretend bridge across this river, and then you have a number of buildings here for guests who are perhaps here on scientific research or are here to do something with the animals. You know, the general staff as well might probably be set up here. And we've got different areas for different things. So what I imagine here is that these buildings are accommodations. Probably fairly simple multi-person sort of dormitories, similar to sort of university accommodation with sort of shared facilities for staff who are staying on the island. And then this one over here, I would say the one that's a little nicer is possibly for sort of guests or VIPs that are staying, but same sort of shared dormitories. You've got some simple seating. Then we've got the Biosyn, I think this is the Biosyn Fossil Lab. But I just really love this sort of curved nature of the main building. It makes me think of a sort of library or modern sort of research facility. So that's here with a Quetzalcoatl statue on the top, just because I thought it added a certain something. Then we have these two big operations buildings which I've joined together to make them into one, and this is where I see most of sort of the specifics of running the park and the island taking place inside these two buildings. And then slightly further along we have two science structures joined together, and I imagine this just being more research. And I actually imagine these buildings having like larger underground footprints. I imagine these big glass covers covering sort of escalators or stairwells that go down into underground facilities that are actually all sort of buried around here. Possibly power plants, water filtration, that sort of thing. And then the river continues further around. I have tried to make the water link up in this park as much as I can, just for realism. Now, if we continue this way out of the walkthrough exhibit, you come to another set of airlocked gates, and this is the castle area of the park. And I've tried to make it look like a sort of royal sort of castle establishment. You've got royal gardens around a central area. You've got towers with two Quetzalcoatlus guarding them, fountains in the center here with a Carcharodontosaurus and T-Rex statue, and then we've got planted borders either side, which are relatively similar. You can see we've got similar sort of trees in borders and stuff for decoration. The use of the concrete walls, because it really is the best thing for doing something like this. And then the castle itself, again, more towers, pterosaurs guarding it, and I've gone for a creepy ruin sort of feel with some fog effects. Plenty of towers and sandstone bricks from the Malta DLC to provide some architectural ruins in here, and we've got a gift shop in here as well, because every good park needs plenty of gift shops. If you follow the side garden paths around, again you've got more water linking rivers here. Plenty of waterfalls as well to join them up. And you come to this area behind the castle with two enclosures and some more amenities and a nice little water feature. In here, protected behind the cages, we have, I think this is Segisaurus in here. Yeah, we got some Segisaurus in here. And then on the other side, we have some Microceratus. There's one. Staring off into nothing. And yeah, they're just behind these simple concrete walls with the grills. You've got some seating areas, some around in here. And then you have the amenity buildings. Two, again, smaller amenities with some seating, another gift shop, toilet facilities, and then you've got this water feature with large fountains, plenty of koi carps, and a Shonisaurus statue in there just for fun. Oh, it is throwing it down. Like I say, we've got nice water features here. We've got some waterfalls here, and actually if I show you this side, you can see we've also got some bigger waterfalls here and here. Now this is the end of this side of the park, so let's head back around, and let's say you're going this way instead. The first thing you come to is the enclosure with the Pachyrhinosaurus and Muttaburrasaurus in here, the swamp, which you can see through the fencing, but if you want a better look, you can have a look through these glass window panels. And this enclosure, if I again zoom out or have the top view, you can see that it's enclosed on one side by wall pieces and the fencing, but you can get a view of it from the hotel, or you can get a view through the gaps where there is wood, and you can see there's this swampy sort of style enclosure, lots of patches of water and trees, and we've got Muttaburrasaurus and Pachyrhinosaurus living in here together, having a nice time. There's two different colorations of Pachyrhinosaurus, just for some color difference, but all the Muttaburras are this glorious, vivid skin. Now, opposite them is the mini golf course. And I've never particularly liked the fact that the mini golf attraction is literally just this building, so I put two of them together and then created an actual mini golf course for them. This takes up a good, you could probably get two enclosures in this space. I've wasted a lot of space here on this purely decorative item, but I think it adds a real something to the park. And I think it's only got 12 holes instead of 18. I couldn't fit all of them in. But you've got a nice mix. You've got some relatively simple ones here. Let's head around the whole thing. You've got a relatively simple course for hole number 1. You can see I've also themed it with plenty of dino structures. Hole 2 is this nice little dog leg zigzag with the Chasmosaurus. Hole 3 is this tower one where you have to sort of go around the back and then slot it through the door. Next hole you have to sort of drop down and then come back up past this cage. And you can see that the biome also changes, so we got a bit more deserty stuff here. This one is sort of like a pinball course, where you have to sort of bounce it about. This one with the, I think this is the Krylos versus the Deinosuchus area. You've just got to basically avoid getting in the bunker. Then sneaking around the rocks, you have this Jurassic Park gate and T-Rex escape, which is just a simple curved one, which then goes upwards at the end. With the Iguanodons, you just have a water feature that you've got to avoid. And then you get to this halfway halt, where you have some seating, some toilets, and I imagine inside this bunker you've got like a small cafe or something similar. Got a fountain here. And then the next hole where you can choose where you want to tee off from. Again, you've got it's like a cross-shaped one, and you've got to avoid the bunker. Moving behind the Velociraptor pen, past this cage, you've got, well, I think this is the Majungasaurus? I think it is the Majungasaurus hole, where it's just another sort of bounce around with a Nisutoceratops as well. And then at the very end of the course, you have these rocks protecting the hole. Next, underneath this banner, it's another sort of zigzag underneath the Alamosaurus as you pass into sort of this fir tree-like area. This one through the fencing, so you've got to go past the Quetzalcoatlus, past the Carcharodontosaurus escape, and then downwards towards the hole. Then you have another small ping pong hole. The Parasaurolophus Spinosaurus hole, where you have to sort of bounce it underneath the Spinosaurus, bounce it between the trees, past the Stegosaurus, and that's the last of the holes. So yeah, you've got a nice mini golf course there for guests to use. Continuing the path, you'll notice there's lots of seating, picnic benches, that sort of thing. Banners as well for just to show off where you are. But if you continue following this along for quite some bit, you then come to the next main area. This is sort of the back area of the park. You can see sort of this, everything that's on screen is like considered the back area of the park, and you've got some distinctive key elements here. So this first element is, I've kind of called it the Amphitheater, but it's not fully an amphitheater, but it's the same sort of effect. So inside here, between or behind these rocks, you have more of the smaller but larger animals. So you've got a Margosaurus in here, Chasmosaurus in here, you know, smaller members of very big animal groups, or animals that are small for their groups but actually rather big. And then you have this central raised area with just a buried sign and stuff in. Now, what I've done up here, overlooking it, you can see there's a height difference, is that you've got bench seating here with covered sort of awnings over the top. And what I imagine is that sort of maybe once or twice a day, you actually have someone who comes out and does like an educational chat about this, and people can sit underneath these awnings on the bench seating and observe the enclosure while the person does the educational talk. Heading further down, you then have an enclosure and another amenities block. This again, another small amenities block. Food and drink, plenty of seating, toilet facilities, fountain. You also have an aviary viewing gallery here, which I think makes for a very nice normal viewing gallery down into this enclosure. And you have 2 access points for viewing logs for this particular enclosure here. Now this is again another sort of swamp style enclosure connecting to the water that's near the castle. And in here we have Metriacanthosaurus, I believe, one of our smaller large theropods. And we've got 2 logs here that are sort of pretend joined, but not actually. They've actually got a very large enclosure, the Metries. It actually goes on for sort of quite some time. It sort of ends up here and is this entire area down here. So I could have put something bigger in here if I had wanted to. Again, the water connected through all the rivers. You cross this bridge. I really do quite like this bridge, sort of the trees, the fountains. And then you come to sort of a quieter area at the back. Again, you've got some more amenities here. And then you have this area around the lagoon. There is a lot of seating here of various types around the central lagoon, because this is primarily quite a family orientated area, so I wanted there to be plenty of seating. The lagoon itself, inside we have some Ichthyosaurus, I believe, yep. And we've given them a sort of coral reef esque sort of area with some, but also some sunken boats and stuff in here. There's quite a few ichthyosaurs. You'll notice that they've all got quite a distinct coloration to them, thanks to the FGM changes mod that I make use of. They just stand out a lot more. Connected to this area is the zipline maze. So you can take the zipline from here across the canyon all the way over here, and then you have a maze that you must then escape out of. And around the maze there are statues of various animals. The maze itself is made with the hedge bush, but also bigger trees and, like I say, statues around here to get the correct route. You've got some sauropods hiding in amongst all of this. This did take a long time to do because obviously it required a lot of placing down of various trees and such. But then you then come back out connecting to sort of the lagoon area. You can see how that looks from above. If you continue onwards, however, you then get to the campgrounds beyond these double gates. These campgrounds connect to a tour at the end. I was really happy with how the campgrounds, however, turned out. If I switch the time of day to nighttime, and we'll have a look at other areas of the park in nighttime in a minute, but you can see how the campgrounds really do come alive in the dark. They've got little buried fire obelisks around them to serve as sort of fire pits. And we've got some sort of light, small lighting around the pathway. But mostly it's just lit by the tents and the little fire pits. And I think it looks really good in the dark. But normally that's how it looks. You've got a sort of winding path that routes through all these tall trees, a variety of different campgrounds, and sort of a little sort of combined vending area, bathroom, sort of shower block cubicle there for people to use. And then if you continue following the path around, it then ends in this tour ride. We've got some amenities here in the Jurassic Park Operation Genesis style, hence the big low poly inflated T-Rex on the tops, which I just thought added again a nice family friendly feel to it. And then this leads to the Jurassic River Cruise. Let's follow this boat as he takes the cruise. Now these are obviously modifications of the truck tour that I think the mod maker is Sir Zero John. He's made look like little boats. And I think it works quite nicely. Now the truck tours follow the river around. I'm going to head forwards actually. They follow the river course up towards, I think it's here. So there's the bridge where you come into sort of the family friendly area. The tour trucks head this way into a wild area of the park, essentially. And you've got multiple areas of animal habitat here. So you've got Troodons on this side of this little island. And on the other side, you've got Proceratosaurus, wherever they are. You can also see the castle through there. But the tour trucks follow the route around the central island. Now, I've put statues of other dinosaur species about to accentuate the size of the species that are here, just to demonstrate how small these animals are. So you can see we've got Stygimoloch here with the Alamosaurus. These trees I'm using in place of mangroves because they do sort of work in a way. There are plenty of animals within this part of the park. We've got some Amargasaurus here. Not Amargasaurus, Nigersaurus, sorry. And Crichtonsaurus as well. And some little pug listros. And I think there is one more species of animal in here. I'm pretty sure there's a mallow in here somewhere. Stiggies again. Pretty sure there were some Hamalacephali about, perhaps. But you can see that, so they sort of follow a route around this little rock feature in the middle of this area. And then they head off back down the river and head back to base. And you can see that the central island is divided into two with invisible fencing. You've got Troodons on the one side, Proceratops on the other. I did have them living together, but the Proceratops were absolutely murdered by the Troodons, so I had to separate them in order to keep them alive. The little Proceratosaurus have this wonderful skin, which is one of my favorites. This tan color. Oops. This tan color with the brown back and the blue sort of belly with crest. I think it looks absolutely beautiful and really works for this sort of beach style area, which is what I kind of wanted. I wanted something that was sort of like kind of beachy, sort of mangrove swampy here. And you can see how the rivers connect back up to the area around where the castle is. And that is basically the park. The other sort of, obviously we've got plenty of mountains here. We've got sort of the mountain area there. And of course the big central mountain area with the pyramid on top. But more or less I focused on creating sort of unique features manually, like the maze, like the castle, like the mini golf course. And just tried a few different sort of building styles and methods here for this particular park. Trying to think of a way of having the animals in the park when they are so small, so you don't necessarily need to use huge viewing galleries. Certainly helped create some interesting sort of ideas for how people might view them, like using the security cameras to view the compies and that sort of thing. So overall I'm really happy with how this park turned out, and I actually think it's one of my better parks overall. I like the sort of shape of the island and how I've had to sort of utilize the little offshoots for enclosures, and how you sort of have this sort of natural area down here around the bay. I really like the mini golf course that I came up with. I mean, I love mini golf anyway in real life, so I would love to design my own mini golf course, especially a dinosaur themed one. I really like the wild Yeholopterus areas here. There's just something quite nice about these cute little pterosaurs, just sort of taking various seats around. Usually they are very variable. They tend to sit around these areas, the hotel areas especially. I just think it's a nice touch to have them wild and flying about. Obviously, I wouldn't suggest you do that for Quetzalcoatlus. Oh look, there's quite a few of them here. Feeding time, obviously. I went with a range of skins on these guys because they look basically good in anything, so. Cute. So yeah, that was our Isla Sodor, one of my longer to construct parks, but a park that I am really happy with how it turned out. And yeah, a park which I really enjoyed building. And yeah, I you know, if anyone wants a tip that from this build specifically, I would say creating your own island in a square map can be quite a rewarding way of building a park. Especially if you create the island sort of at random, or try to do it at random, sort of put in your mountain areas, put in your gullies and your beaches and everything else, your rivers, and then just build the park on that, trying to maintain as many of the natural features as possible. You result in quite an interesting build, I think. So yeah, I'm really happy with how this turned out. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think of Isla Sodor. And while you're down there, don't forget to give us a like and subscribe if you're new to Triclaw Gaming for more content from all of us here. But until next time, stay safe and goodbye.